Salmon, a.k.a. Diz, and this is The Force Always. Welcome to the show. That's right, the hoodie's here, the beanie's here, the flag is here, and that's where I'm located, right here, down there, Melbourne. It's freezing as hell, even though hell is not meant to be freezing, but it's freezing down here. So let's get right into this week's episode. Just subscribe to The Force Always, only on YouTube. You get news, which is small, big, medium type of news. You get views for myself, which is about story input ideas. You get reviews that could be of products, posters, trailers, TV spots, anything. And you get interviews, everyday people, celebrities, people who are fans, people who are not fans, just anyone I could speak to about Star Wars. And also I interview myself, which is a 2Q thing, which is 2 questions I ask myself, but that's another thing for another time. But let's get into the Star Wars news this time around, because it has been, what a week is the best way to put it. Let's start in point form. Han Solo, young Han Solo film. Yes, the directors got fired by the president of Lucasfilm, that's Kathleen Kennedy, that's Lord and Miller, got fired. They were the directors of the young Han Solo film earlier this week. To more news, it transferred into Ron Howard being appointed, being the director of this young Han Solo film, which is meant to now commence in July 10. That will be reshoots, and the 3 weeks remaining, that's 3 weeks-ish remaining of footage they need to get. And then to more news, which this story transferred into again, Alden Ehrenreich, the person who's playing the young Han Solo character, has put his hand up and sort of said, yes, I agree that the directors were sort of pushing the comedy a bit too hard. This has been what's been said out there from what Alden Ehrenreich has been saying. So that's sort of an interesting weight to the whole situation this week of the news coming from young Han Solo film. So let's look into more news. More news, we've got Carrie Fisher, sadly passed more than 6 months ago now, and it has been found that she passed away from sleep apnea and other conditions. It is sad and it's still unsettling for myself, and I'm sure people out there, that she has passed. But sleep apnea has been the main cause of death. So rest in peace, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, she's a gem. To more news, Colin Trevorrow, which is the director for Episode 9, the Star Wars Episode 9, has asked Rian Johnson, who's the director of The Last Jedi Episode 8, to tweak some scenes so he can fulfill those scenes in Episode 9. This has sort of been done before with Rian Johnson asking the same thing with J.J. Abrams. So at least the directors there within the main trilogy are sort of in sync and, getting things done. To more news, a couple of leaks this week with the Lego brand again with The Last Jedi. They need to really get a lid on their security there. There's just too many leaks is happening from Lego early on. This happened before. I'm one to see these leaks just because I'm interested. There's certain leaks I don't want to see, but that's for another time. But the characters are getting more revealed, more detail has been seen. And speaking of leaks, the Space Punch drink the energy drink or whatever it is yet to come out to advertise The Last Jedi. A lot of the images being pulled due to, I'm sure a really bad leak on that behalf or by Space Punch. So if you're going to check out that image of the 4 cans with 4 characters from The Last Jedi, you may want to do that sooner than later, or you can just wait to when The Last Jedi comes out. So that is the news for this time around. Just in point form there, I know there's some big pieces there. I'll discuss it a bit later on with some of my other segments. But anyway, let's get into the views. Views this week was from a Twitter question I got from Dino Music. A good supporter of mine. Yes, so he asked me, can you ever see Grand Admiral Thrawn feature in the future? That's right, it's a bit of a tongue twister. Can you see him feature in the future? I nearly confused myself. Can you see him in a film? Technically, can you see him appear in a film, cartoon, whatever it is? And yes, I can. Dino Music, and to everyone else out there too, I can see him in there, but I think he'd be better as a side character, not as the front and center, just because I find his idea of a character really great in its psychology, in its look, but I just don't buy into the blue face. I'm sorry, the blue face really gives it a real sci-fi sort of thing. I know that Star Wars is technically sci-fi, but technically it's not. I take it as a space adventure, as Lucas said once himself. It's not a sci-fi, it's just, I know it's a bit confusing, but anyway. But I'd like him to be a side character in a main film. He could, be the main villain if it would be great, but I just don't see him, having Thrawn the movie. I see him as more a side character, maybe in, I don't know, let's say for the argument's sake, a bounty hunter film came out and he was in that, that would be good. But definitely I'd like to see an animation series on it. That would be fantastic, sort of similar to Rebels and Clone Wars. That would really get the fans excited, and myself, I like his, the ideas of Thrawn. Just as a main person, as in a film, no. But anyway, to the other question that Dino Music had for myself, which was, if he was in a feature, who would play him? And I come up with 4, 2 Australians and 2 Americans. The 2 Australians is Guy Pearce. Okay, he's got a great sort of look to his face and body to fit that sort of Thrawn feel. You'd have to tweak him a little, but he's a great actor, a very fine actor, and he's done sort of some sci-fi things, would you believe, and some comic type stuff recently. And I think and he's also comes from, he's actually was in a show called Neighbours, which was a big hit here in the late 80s. It's still going on across the world, but it's he's not in it anymore, but he was in the beginning stages. And that feature with Kylie Minogue and things like that, it was very early on in his career. You could see promise in the person, but you just did not think he was going to be a Hollywood actor, But that's great. It's fantastic. He's made it. So Guy Pearce is one. The other person that's Australian that I think could play him, but you'd have to work on his look a bit more, is Eric Bana. He played a great villain in Star Trek, J.J. Abrams directed, and that was amazing. That to me is the second best villain I've ever come across in a story, in a film, whatever. His villain, the look of him, the acting, the idea, everything. I just thought it was great, and I think he could pull off a Thrawn. The 2 Americans, one is a classic actor, William Dafoe. Ever since Mississippi Burning, I was a fan of his work, and being the villain in Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, William Dafoe, I think he would pull off. He's got a great chiseled face, the body structure that you will need, and I'm sure he'd pull off that villain as well, Thrawn. But my ultimate person is, actually I don't think he's American, but he's just a great actor. Unfortunately, commercially, he's a bit tied up, and he's sort of done this before in a sort of similar role. That is Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah, he is just amazing. Now, if you want to understand what I mean, how well he could pull it off, watch Star Trek Into Darkness. That was the second one. That was directed by J.J. Abrams. That was his second one. It was fantastic. He played the villain in that. He had this sort of really strong but calm, collected sort of villain. And Benedict Cumberbatch is the man for the job. That's what I think. But thanks again to Dino Music via Twitter, and there's my answer to you and to everyone else as well, and that is views for this time around. So let's now get into reviews. This week is going to be about the appointment of Ron Howard as the director of the young Han Solo film. What do I think? Okay, I think that Disney have chosen a very conservative choice yet again. Disney, I'm finding just the consistency with being conservative is just there. I think they're really playing it safe because they just know Star Wars fans can get quite freaky, but including myself, you know, like I'll keep rocking as a hardcore Star Wars fan, but I think even though it's a conservative choice, I think it's a good choice. He'll bring a seriousness to the role. I like his work already. You know the classic, as everyone's been saying, Apollo 13. But yeah, and he also, interestingly enough, has had experience with sort of a young Han Solo because he was in American Graffiti with Harrison Ford, and that was before the whole Star Wars thing. So he sort of gets a bit of insight of that person's mannerisms, the way he can speak, and the experience with him, Harrison Ford being Han Solo. So I think it's a very good choice. There's a lot of logic in that. But I never bought and still don't buy that the young Han Solo film should have a comedy about it. I know that Han Solo had a lot of sarcasm to him, but me as a kid in 77 through to the 80s never saw the comedy because I was just too young to really understand that type of comedy coming as a little kid. I was interested in the toys, the space, the story, the adventure. But it needs to be treated seriously. So even though I feel sorry for Lord and Miller being dropped, I'm sure that they are great directors. I've seen a little bit of their work, and I think they're good. I can't say that I'm a massive fan or anything like that, but that doesn't go against them. I think they're good, but I just think they were probably the wrong fit for the film. I think Ron Howard is a better fit, and he will give us a really good young Han Solo film. Anyway, so that's my review this time around. I'm not going to rate him out of 10. How can you rate that person out of 10? You just sort of be appreciative. But that's the reviews this time around. Let's get into the interviews. Now, this is sort of a question I've asked myself before, and this is going to be a 2Q process where I'm going to ask myself 2 questions, 2Q, to myself, to answer you, to answer for myself as well. So this has sort of been asked before by myself, but it's going to have a different spin as you'll get to know. What is going to happen to D23? What should happen to D23 now, since this last week has unfolded with the young Han Solo, ordeal with the directors being fired? I think, and this is a big call, with the integrity of Ron Howard, being an A-lister type director, like he's just up there, his experience, he's just a man himself, he's to be revered. To give him just the last 3 weeks and the reshoots doesn't seem to be justified. At D23, it would be about 4 days since the recommencement of shooting of young Han Solo again, the reshoots and the 3 weeks that they had missed. I would, as Kathleen Kennedy, if I was Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, I would say that Ron Howard is going to start this film again and from the beginning and make it his own film, which would mean that the May release date would have to change to December. I prefer it to be May, but I think it would have to be pushed to December of 2018. It would be too short notice. I wouldn't reveal a name, I wouldn't reveal an image, I just get into explaining that we're going to start the whole film again. That's what I think should happen. I think Ron Howard would like to see happen. I'm sure it'll be a dream. And it also sort of pay respect, in a strange way putting it, to the directors before, because it would be just, utilising their work when they're not around. I just think it's going to be best to start again. That's what I think. So that's what should happen. I think. So my next question is, should the Last Jedi trailer be at D23? I said that it should be about a month after D23, because D23 should have been about Han Solo, the presentation of Han Solo. Well, that's a little bit now hard to reach, especially with my idea, if that were to go ahead. So I actually would I would actually put the trailer. It's a perfect time since the last trailer, I think, or the last teaser. I think it's a perfect time. I just gave it a month after D23 because he didn't want to confuse the two movies too much, So I think it should be that day where we see the last Jedi trailer, just to really, give the fans an extra sort of bit of dollop of cream on that cake is actually play the sizzle reel if they have one of The Last Jedi. That would be great. There's two things in one that would really shut all the haters of the last week's going-ons about the ins and outs of this young Han Solo ordeal. I think, and it would just bring us back to the fun of Star Wars from this devastation we've had in this last week. So I think they should drop the trailer at D23. It's the only real thing that they can do now that would make sense and is in motion. Anyway, so this is the show this week around. So I'll be back next week as per usual, and as I keep saying to you, keep rocking.